Happy Wednesday.
Hi there.
We are live. We are Laura and Dave Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we offer these live streams every week for the most part on topics that we hear and from our clients that are of interest to them. And sometimes it's just what we like to talk about.
So it's on somebody's mind. Is it ours or theirs or somebody's?
Yeah, and this topic for today came up because, we're working on our upcoming emotional mastery course, and we realize that what happens is stress behavior rears its head. We all know that. But what
Mhm.
does it mean here, Dave, to talk about it requires emotional mastery?
Well, I think the point here is, I think as well as it being on people's minds, it just seems to be a lot more stress behavior everywhere. It just seems to be growing and growing since the pandemic has gotten worse and worse and worse. And now we're talking about inflation and recession and blah, 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 blah. And stress behavior is at an all-time high. But I think the reason I think we want to talk about it is because it's normal to feel these things. I mean, stress behavior is there for a purpose. Not just the stress, but the behavior of showing it is a way of communicating. But but for some reason in our culture and in our society and in our world, stress behavior is looked at and judged as being negative, being wrong, and being bad. Well, it certainly feels uncomfortable, but it does have a purpose. And if you don't have emotional mastery, if you haven't learned the techniques and the fundamentals of emotional mastery, well, you're never going to be able to use it for anything other than trying to hide it.
Well, I think too, the other piece around stress behavior is if we can align and recognize the triggers that are going to push the stress behavior over, then we're going to be a little more in not so much in control,
Well, we can manage it better.
manage it better.
It
Absolutely.
doesn't have to manage us. That's what we say in general. Learn to manage stress before it starts managing you. Now, it's like anything else. If it gets in the way of your life and you can't do the things you want to do, then it's a problem. If it's less than that, then it's just something that we put up with. But I'd like to take it one step further. You and I have been working on an article for Life Science Leader magazine called Look Beyond the Strengths to the Motivators. Well, the motivators are needs. The motivators are the things that I need on a daily basis to get up. I need to pay the bills. I need to eat. I need to take a shower. Those are needs that we all share. But needs that go beyond that are motivators. I have a need to be able to interact with people. I have a need to be able to feel like I win. I have a need to be able to solve problems. Those kinds of needs, when they're met, dampen down the stress behavior because I feel like I'm more in control of not only myself, but what I'm doing.
Well, the other piece to it is that we talk often about living your strengths, identify what your strengths are. Well, the reason that we're in our strengths and we can land there for a while is because we've satisfied a need or a motivator.
That's correct. Yeah,
It's not the other way around. The strength does not lead to the need.
right.
Need leads to the strength.
Leads to the strength and unleashes the strength. It lets it go. It lets it become what it can be because the needs are the foundation, and the motivators of the need are what usually we use the strengths to be able to accomplish.
But we know that in this world of recognizing our needs and therefore aligning our strengths is not a one size fits all.
Right.
So we live in the space of helping based on 4 different categories.
Specific categories. People like to call them personalities, but they're not really personalities as much as they're perspectives, the way we look at the world. Because we know from the work we do that we don't see the world the way it is. We see it the way we are. So if I'm stressed and I'm looking through my filter, whatever that is, the whole world is stressed to me.
Right.
But it really isn't.
Everybody feels like I do.
Yeah, because I'm an example of humanity.
Yeah. And it's not the case. So in some cases, there are people who are categorized as what we call the doer. They're hands-on. They thrive in fast-paced, getter done environments.
The good old doers. It's always nice to have a doer around when you got to get something done.
And by the way, we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we provide conversations for organizations and individuals focusing on passion, what your needs and strengths are. How's that one? And help you with your own individual journey, but also helping you communicate with your colleagues and teams. So let's go back to that doer. So the doer the stress behavior is, and I love the fact that I had a client one time who said, whatever the stress behavior was, well, that's not me. And I said, well, pick another one because we all have it.
Yeah, you're going to have something.
And even if it doesn't resonate with us, we will be working with somebody who probably is exhibiting this type of stress behavior.
Well, I think that's the important point that we're trying to make, is that everybody has their own version of it. And rather than hiding it and pretending that it's not there, let's use it to our advantage. So if you can recognize the stress of a doer, the dismissiveness, the busyness, the demanding quality. Well, what is it?
This is what could be very observable. We could be working and having conversation with somebody, and they, okay, can we just move on?
Right. They don't mean to be dismissive. That's not their point. Their point is
usually what's at the essence of that behavior is a missing need. Mm-hmm. So what the doer needs, so let's say you were the doer exhibiting stress, then I could.
I haven't got time for this. What are you talking about?
I offer some ways to have a conversation about, what do you need that's immediate?
Right.
How can I help you address that? What decisions are you looking to meet, or make at this point? And what are the results you're looking for?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to describe this is that the needs of the doer usually are built around what? What are we trying to do? And time-wise, it's immediate. So everything's a fire. So every time you see every time I see those red fire engines go by, that's being driven by a bunch of doers. They love to have an immediate emergency.
Yeah. And then we go to something we recognize, the communicator. So what does that stress behavior look like in the category and from the perspective of the communicator? So there's something that triggers the communicator that comes across as being very sensitive. They're distracted, sidetracked, argumentative.
And just because you don't say hello to them when you walk in the room, they're going to feel like you're angry at them.
What's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with you?
What
did I do?
What did I do? What did I do? Wait a minute, I got to go fix it.
So let's say that, I'm the one who's the communicator and I'm exhibiting this stress, and I might be argumentative. Never happened in my world, but I could be. And this is what I need. There's something underneath that energy, that visibility that is not being met.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean, by the way, that we look at these needs as an all-day event. This could be 15, 20 minutes that we have that connection. Maybe it's a positive relationship who's giving kind of how are you doing today? Are things, things seem a little tense with you?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, just what's up conversation.
So the needs are usually built around the fact that there are too many facts. Hey, wait a minute, how do you feel about it? I don't care what the facts are. What do you feel? How do you feel?
Mix it up.
Yeah, and in positive relationships, and when I say positive, I think the point here is that they're upbeat, that they're friendly. The relationships, that when they become confrontational, it's very difficult for the communicators. They get very sensitive about it. And variety is always a good way to talk about the needs for a communicator, because they get bored quick. So it's funny that one of their stress behaviors is to get sidetracked. Well, the reason that they're sidetracked is they don't have enough variety, and they're looking for anything else to concentrate on, but what it is that they feel like they're getting stuck on. So they like to have two or three different things happening at the same time. So it's always useful to introduce new ideas, be creative.
And the additional category is the thinker, the stress behavior. I know this one pretty well. Withdrawn, the indecisions about too many decisions. The day gets loaded with them. The plate gets overflowing with them. So it causes, with this category, this, oh my, I'm never going to be able to do it all. The pessimism.
Yeah,
And
I think another quality of stress behavior is when you point it out to the person who's having the stress reactions, they'll usually say, "No, I'm not."
mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's a one-way vision. Suddenly you're withdrawn. Well, what do you mean I'm withdrawn? I'm not withdrawn.
Well, I think that's an interesting point, because not everybody, I think the doer loves to, not loves, but will handle having that pointed out much better than the thinker, because it gives the thinker another thing to think about. So we don't want to add all of that onto their plate, but what we want to provide them is get back away. Don't even say anything like, you seem to be ... Don't even go there. Just let them go. Give them a chance to look at what are all the pieces that are on my plate that are causing me confusion.
Right. Why don't you take 10 minutes and go review this, and then we'll pick it up and talk about it later.
Right.
So just give plenty of time. There's no rush. It's not immediate. So you see, there's a time quality, just like there's a time quality to the doer. The time quality for the communicator is sort of the broad present in general, but the time of the thinker is the future. They're not thinking about the past. They're thinking about what else could we do? What's coming next? What do we see? What's the big picture? So they need time. They need insights. They need the big picture in order to be able to do the thinking that they like to do.
And then the final one is the analyzer. And in this category, the stress behavior could be, they don't have enough information, so it's rigid.
Yeah, they shut it down. Let's just stop right here.
Or they may not be adaptable to a new way of doing things because they don't have enough information on why are we doing this.
Right. So they appear insistent on something that even seems.
Yeah, or very cautious or overly cautious.
Right.
There's a need for caution.
Let's go back to the rule book. I'm going to look up the rules because I know that there's a rule here somewhere that I can use.
Exactly. So, and the other point is we have a colleague on the call who's saying if the doer is self-aware, they will recognize their needs. I think that's a really good point. And it's also a good point for all of these categories.
Why we need emotional mastery.
And
which is still based on self-awareness and self-management, but without the ability to understand that.
Our colleague Jeff says, understanding your Berkman profile. Exactly, Jeff. That's, the tool of choice when we get to having this information, because quite often we don't have the information that we, to understand what our needs and stress are.
Yeah, I like his use of the word triggers too, because if you know what your triggers are, you don't necessarily have to pull them.
Exactly.
If you know where they are, you can put a little, like a trigger guard on it. You don't have to let other people pull it either.
So the analyzer, what are the needs for the analyzer? Details, lists, data. It's always going to be, give me more information so that I can make the assessment and the judgment.
Right. Yeah. Jeff and I were talking about that just recently because we have a client. We're suggesting, he has needs in this area. He needs to have all the details. So I think, Jeff, we should review every piece of the conversation so far, make a list out of all the possibilities, and give him all the data that he could possibly ever need. And then say, here you go, make a plan.
Absolutely. So with all this said, we're going to wrap it up for this conversation and be on the lookout for the additional information about this upcoming program, which will bring all of this information together. You can also go to our website, which is worklifeonline.com, on the bottom of the page here. And you can sign up either for our to join our list and receive additional information, but you can also take a 2-minute quiz that will show you, exactly where are you at? How emotionally smart are you? So that you can, get an assessment of where you fit in this discussion. And again, we are Dave and Laura Butler, and we provide coaching and conversation support to individuals and organizations on a variety of topics such as this one.
And we help you get your needs met.
Yeah, and we will help you get your needs met. So thanks so much for listening, and leave us a comment on what are some of the things you recognize in yourself, but also any other conversations you'd like us to focus on moving forward. Thanks for listening.